What do you get when you combine the best inspirations from the greatest RPGs ever made, like Baldur's Gate, Dark Souls, Diablo, Elder Scrolls, Dragon's Dogma, and more? Well, you kind of get a word salad of name dropping that doesn't actually mean all that much, but also a really solid RPG. Mortal Crux first got on my radar roughly a year or so ago, maybe a little bit more, when I saw a really slick looking top-down animation that reminded me of one of my favorite RPGs of all time, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Yay, gnolls. There's a lot of gnolls! Oh my god, what did I do? No, mistake! But after sitting with this RPG for a while and looking at some of the updates that have been coming out for the game as we inch by inch, closer and closer to a release date in the future, I realized it's actually quite a bit more than that. More than my initial expectations of the game, but just what the hell is it? Mortal Crux is an ARPG lovingly referred to as a game with Souls-like mechanics inspired by RPG royalty like Baldur's Gate, Diablo, and Elder Scrolls. All those games I mentioned in the first few lines of this video. Basically the RPG trees that everyone pulls at least one or two leaves from. All the buzzwords you can shake a stick at. But there's actually quite a bit more meat here. As explained on Mortal Crux's Steam page in regards to the Souls-like nature of the combat, it has mechanics that you'd find in a Souls game, but from an aerial view. We get to see this throughout some of the gameplay videos with lots of dodging, climbing on enemies, using the environment to your advantage, and even dropping traps. And let's be completely honest here, the ragdoll physics, they do a lot of work here. They add a lot to this. It just feels fun. It's a non-linear RPG in a high fantasy medieval world that will be both single player and co-op. Yes, co-op, a game that you can play with up to 4 players. So it's an RPG adventure that you'll be able to actually share with your friends and probably scream a lot because you got set on fire by one of these traps. After all, you know, you have to be really on top of things to avoid those traps. You have to just really be, you know, on top of your game, looking around, making sure you look around every corner, listening really closely, because you don't want to be caught off guard by some kind of trap somewhere. Always be aware of your surrounding and use your keen intellect. Oh, we've avoided the trap. We avoided it. Fuck. So can I interest you in this ARPG that has Souls-like mechanics and a top-down perspective that is inspired by so many great RPGs? Or do you need a little more convincing? Like perhaps some of the extra details that have been going into this game, like this ring system, an in-depth ring system with individual rings and nail polish. Or perhaps you need a home in-game, a place to store your adventures. What if some of those adventures you were storing had to do with, well, fishing? Fishing that even has an aquarium in-game, a home for your biggest catches that are tied to learning lore. Yes, fish lore. And collection quests with the immersive aquarium viewing mode. This project is one of the most interesting ones I've been following for a while now, from its excellent sound design, its visuals, and gameplay. But it's even more unique because you know that co-op part of this game? Well, it's an RPG that can be played with more friends than developers that are making the game. This is a solo dev project being created by Jesse Walker, who you can find both on Twitter and on Twitch at Mortal Crux, which I'll link down below. I'm far from the only person that has been taking notice of this game though. PC Gamer has actually done a couple different articles on the game, covering different aspects so far. In one, they even went as far as to talk about how much strength is in the detail of this game. In fact, they even called it, believe it or not, a Larian-esque quality. You know, we really gotta stop doing this. We gotta stop comparing games to these big Paragon games. Comparing a solo dev project to basically a 500 person studio or more just feels unfair.
Meanwhile,
what do you get when you combine the best inspirations from the greatest RPGs ever made, like Baldur's Gate, Dark Souls, Diablo, Elder Scrolls, Dragon's Dogma, and more? I'm part of the problem. I really am part of the problem. But Larian-esque quality. The Larian qualities that PC Gamer talked about in their article back in 2023 were all about how the fire in the game propagates in a realistic manner, how frozen enemies can be shattered, and the ability to block spells in midair with a thrown weapon. Yes, you can block spells in midair with a thrown weapon, which sounds like a lot of fun. A lot of fun is kind of what this game seems to sound like in general. As you watch the clips that I have used in this video, it just evokes that. It evokes fun. It's like, that seems like that would be a fun thing to do in game, to see what this would look like as you're playing. There is a ton of focus in this game on detail so far. It's one of the main things we get to see. We know much more about that than we do, like, say, story, because it just feels fun. And all that detail has just continued to expand. I reached out to the developer of Mortal Crux and they shared with me a lot of the work they've been doing, which includes a lot of lighting work, indoor and out, even utilizing a really incredible looking lantern that looks and acts a whole lot like those in Dragon's Dogma 2, complete with the grass that makes shadows. And while that may sound insignificant, it's tied to that Larian-esque comment, because it's an extreme attention to detail coming to this solo dev RPG, and it shows where the focus has been, making a complete game from the bottom to the top, and I think that's commendable. But it's obviously not all just lighting, sound effects, and fishing for this game. The gameplay looks satisfying and a step above what we might have expected in an ARPG. They've already shown off players climbing atop a troll to battle it, or hypnotizing it with a satisfying animation to match, or setting hordes of undead on fire. Quite honestly, it's the attention to system detail that has me the most excited for this game, because it's looking like an ARPG that, while inspired for sure by many of the old classics, could surpass them in key ways, bringing depth that sometimes is lacking in this subgenre. Getting to play it with friends as a co-op multiplies this appeal, because even some of the best RPGs to release recently, like a Baldur's Gate 3, have an added extra dimension of fun because of the co-op. It's one thing to experience the game by yourself, it's like sitting down with a great book, getting all nice and cozy. and often getting devastated by some plot twist in the story you weren't expecting. But when you include co-op, it's almost like the game gets a second life. You can create your own stories, your own memories. Memories like a friend who expertly performs these stealth actions like this, leading you all to cheer how excited you are because they're able to take out some powerful enemies that you don't have to face. Because believe it or not, this game is not just a straightforward hack and slash blow 'em up game with co-op. There is a tantalizing tip on stealth that is hard to ignore that really adds an extra dimension to the game. No matter what target you are trying to sneak up on, if you are successful enough, you can kill them with one hit. The stealth system will be entirely based on the sound and line of sight with fantastic benefits if done well. Now I'm just going to throw this out there. If the developer of Mortal Crux happens to be listening to this, if there's any way to add in any kind of chat function in the game where if you have to be quiet while other people are stealthing or you ruin the stealth, that would be funny as hell to do. Just throwing that out there. It's probably a lot of work. Never mind. I'm content brained, I'm Twitch brained, so just ignore that completely. Let's move on to the game. If Mortal Crux sounds interesting to you, wishlist the game. Wishlisting will help all games, but it's especially helpful to an indie project like this because it will help the game be more visible to other people, including your friends who may be interested in this game. It's an invaluable way to support the game you love, and it costs you less than watching this video, which is also free, but cost time. Like you had to sit there and watch. And also maybe an ad or two if you don't have like YouTube Premium or something. So cheaper than this video, wishlist Mortal Crux on Steam. I will link it down below so you can go directly to the store page as well. And then while you're doing that, go check out this video for some other awesome indie RPGs that you might want to check out. There's some really good ones in there. Mortal Crux is in there, but there's some really other good ones in there too.